What's up, Flannelverse? Neil Orfield here, founder of the Flannelverse. If you don't know me, I am obsessed with fantasy football. I have been for decades, and I've had some success at it. I've won the Millie Maker. Take away the Millie Maker, I'd still be up hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, NFL Showdown has been my second most profitable format. I've won $300,000 in a Millie Maker contest in NFL Showdown, another over 100,000 in NFL Showdown. Love it. Love the format, but it has been a couple years since I've had a six-figure win in NFL Showdown. So I am changing things up this year. I'm upping my game. I'm working with Run the Sims on my lineups this year. I hope you'll join me. If you'd like to, you can use promo code Neil to get 10% off your first payment at Run the Sims on any of their products. The product that I'm going to be demonstrating here today is going to be the SimRunner Pro product. Has the shady portfolio optimizer tool, has all the bells and whistles, but they have a number of different products that you can try out if you just kind of want to see how things work here. By the way, I'd appreciate it while you're coming in if you would like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the NFL season. So if you like what you see and want to hear more, hit that subscribe button. All right, thanks, guys. I'm going to get into it now. Pull up the Sims here. So I'm new to Run the Sims, but so far I am absolutely loving the product. The one obstacle for me to using the Sims in the past, any other Sims product I've checked out, is I haven't found them to be as customizable as I would like them to be. Sometimes I like to take big player stands. I want to just make lineups that work for me. And that's always been easy for me with an optimizer to really get to the exposure I like on different players, make lineups how I want them. But I've struggled with it before using Sims. And I found that a little bit easier in Run the Sims because you can adjust things pretty easily. You can adjust the team level stats and then also market share within players. I can say if I think Jordan Mason's going to get a heavier workload than is being projected, I can just make that change right here myself. Pretty easy to customize here. But I always like to start before I get into too many changes. I like to run things basically how they are. I want to put the settings how I need them for the contest I'm playing. But then I just want to run the Sims with unencumbered or without any changes by myself. I want to see what it spits out so that from there I can know what do I need to do, if anything, to get closer to lineups I like. Maybe it's going to spit out the exact exposures that I want, play the players that I like on this slate. But most likely I am always going to need to make at least a few tweaks to the players themselves or the teams themselves to get to lineups that I really like. So I like to run it first before I actually make those changes. But I do make changes to the settings here because it needs to be customized to the types of contests that I play. So I'm actually going to do number of lineups. I'm going to do 25,000 here. It does slow it down the more lineups you do. You could go all the way up to 50,000, but I think 25,000 is a pretty good number of lineups to find some plus EV lineups. And then size of contest field, I'm also going to set this all the way to the top, 15,000. That is the highest contest field size you can choose. It's close enough to the top heavy contest. I mean, I'm playing contests that literally have hundreds of thousands of entrants in them, but 15,000 person field or entry field is close enough to that super large field that it works for the Sims. As you saw here, I also changed payout structure to top heavy. Generally, the larger field contests are going to be very top heavy, as they should be, in my opinion, in NFL Showdown, because you're going to get duped anyway. And the number of simulations, I am going to run 10,000, leave it at the high number there. I'm not going to make too many changes here. I'm not going to make too many requirements on my lineups because I want to let the Sims do their thing. The Sims are created to, they're going to count for correlation because at Run the Sims, they're doing play-by-play simulations in the game, and then they follow that with doing contest level simulations. So they're simulating actual DFS lineups against each other 10,000 times to find the EV of those lineups in those 10,000 contests. So I want to let it do the work for me. I don't want to put constraints on it, like require a pass catcher with a quarterback, that kind of thing, like I would do with an optimizer. I always do that kind of stuff with an optimizer, or like setting a salary cap, things that I do in an optimizer. I don't want to do that within the Sims because I want to let the Sims put the work in for me. These are really some of the best DFS players on the planet are Run the Sims. I trust their judgment. I trust the way they're doing things. They've already done the work for me in a very sophisticated manner. So I'm going to let their work speak for itself rather than making too many changes to the settings here. One thing I will click is the Shady Portfolio. This is Shady Advice, one of the best DFS players on the planet. This is his portfolio diversifier, and that's kind of what has always set Shady apart, is the way he diversifies his lineups so that he minimizes his risk of ruin. He's going to have a really diverse portfolio of lineups. They're all going to be really plus EV lineups, but they're not going to be too similar to each other. So you're just more likely to be able to play longer and take more shots at that top prize. Rather than you're never going to see him get like first through 10th in the same contest, because his lineups are going to be too different from that. But that's an intentional thing that Shady Advice does, and that I think is really sharp. I trust Shady Advice's work, so I'm just going to use the Shady Portfolio Optimizer. I'm playing 221 lineups tonight in Showdown, mostly in like the mini max. I'm not playing tens of thousands of dollars here. I'm playing just a few $100s of lineups here, but I'm going to do 221 lineups in total. So I'm going to set that with the Shady Portfolio Optimizer. And now I've got my settings all done. I'm just going to click Sim Runner Pro and let it do its thing. This is going to take a few minutes because of the settings that I use. So keep that in mind. I'm going to cut that part out of this video so you don't have to watch dead air. But as it goes, it kind of tells you where it is at in the process. It's pretty cool, but it takes a few minutes. So just keep that in mind before you make your lineups. I'll be back in a couple minutes to go over what my lineups look like. Okay, I'm back. I've got some lineups made here. You can see, looking at the top lineups, I'm really pleased with the lineups that came out. So again, I didn't set any rules like when you have a quarterback in the captain spot require multiple pass catchers. Things that I would set the rules for Showdown slates in the past using an optimizer, like requiring statuesque or less running quarterbacks to have multiple pass catchers when I have the quarterback in the captain spot. It did it automatically here, which is really cool to see. JJ McCarthy, the top EV lineup here. And I should note, these are not actually in order of EV. That's because I'm using the Shady Optimizer. If you did not use the Shady Portfolio Optimizer, it would give you these lineups in the order of their EV. But because I use the Shady Optimizer and it knows that it's going to make 221 lineups within the optimizer, the Portfolio Optimizer, doesn't come out in that exact order. It gives you lineups that are not going to cannibalize each other too much. So you get kind of a diverse set of lineups at the top. But looking at these top lineup, we have JJ McCarthy with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. So love to see that double stacked JJ McCarthy, and then also double stacked Caleb Williams in the first one. Caleb with DJ Moore and Olamide Zaccheaus leaves 500 on the table. That one we're projecting for about 25 dupes. So what this is saying is, even though this is a massively duped lineup, it still shows up as positive EV in the Sims because it just wins frequently enough. These are all players that project really well. So kind of a cool top lineup. And then the second lineup kind of flips it. So it's Caleb Williams stacked up with Colston Loveland and DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. And then we have the kicker for the Bears, Cairo Santos, and Aaron Jones as the Vikings bring back. So a lot of different, some overlap, but a lot of different players here, different kind of lineup build here. The third lineup, we have Aaron Jones in the captain spot. We've got JJ McCarthy and Adam Thielen as well. And then we have Caleb Williams with his running back, DeAndre Swift, and Cairo Santos. That's kind of an interesting one. But, DeAndre Swift, a capable pass catcher there. Fourth lineup, JJ McCarthy with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. So massive stack here with the Vikings kicker. And then you have we have DeAndre Swift coming back from the Bears, leaving some salary on the table. And you can see these are pretty different lineups in terms of what makes them valuable. So this third one, it leaves $2,700 on the table, and it's predicted to just have 4 dupes. So that's one probably not going to win as often, but when it wins, it's going to win a lot of money because it's not duped much. We can actually see what's the win rate here. Top 0.1% rate, actually not bad, 0.21%, top 1% rate, in the money 32% of the time. Interesting to look at some of the stats surrounding the lineups. But in general, just cool to see that we have a lot of different lineups showing up at the top here. But now what I'm going to do is, can't see my exposures here in Run the Sims. That's something they're working on right now, but you can just pull it out and put it into DraftKings. So I'm going to take out my 221 lineups, download that CSV, and then I'm going to put that into DraftKings to look at the exposures and think about who I might want to get more of, who I need to change to get to the exposures and the lineups that I want in my portfolio. So I'll actually show you how to do that. So I just downloaded this and put it into a DraftKings CSV spreadsheet. You can get that by going to, if you go to DraftKings, go to lineups, edit entries. I just got it from over here. So I downloaded this CSV file and it'll show up with all your lineups, or all of your entries, but the lineup portion is blank. And then I just copy paste the lineups from Run the Sims. I just downloaded the CSV from there, pasted it into the DraftKings file, and now I'm going to upload them over here. So now you can see I've uploaded my 221 lineups. Now I can see my exposures by going to lineups, view exposure. And because I have a lot of best ball entries, I actually have to change the settings here from all to the showdown contest. Apply that. But now I can see exactly what my exposures look like. So you can see here, I'm getting to a ton of Caleb Williams, 85% Caleb Williams in my lineups. Got nearly $400 invested in him, 77% JJ McCarthy. So getting to a lot of the quarterbacks, 59% Aaron Jones, 54% DJ Moore, 46% DeAndre Swift, 42% Justin Jefferson, 41% Adam Thielen, 33% Rome Odunze, 28% Olamide Zaccheaus, 25% Cairo Santos, 19% of the Vikings defense, 16% Cole Kmet, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna look at specific players that I want to get more of. So another thing that you might need to know about me is that I'm a Vikings fan. I'm a huge fan of JJ McCarthy. I have a lot of money invested in him in best ball this season, but I actually think the Bears defense is a little bit underowned today. So while I'm going to be playing a lot of JJ McCarthy, I also think the Bears defense is only 3,400 and they're not projected for a ton of ownership. So I'm going to try to get to a bit more of the Bears defense in my lineups. Actually, I like Kyle Monunga. I think he's wide range of outcomes tonight. Could be like a 0, could not be involved at all. They might just go all DeAndre Swift, but he is the RB2. The coaches have been pretty bullish on him in the offseason. So at low ownership, I think I'm willing to put some risk on the line for a player who might be a 0, just in case he does actually get a fair amount of workload. He's only 2,800, seems fair. I like Jalen Naylor a bit. Actually, this is kind of a lot of the players I like here. Bears defense, Monungai, Naylor, Jordan Mason, I think are all pretty strong bets. I do like Cole Kmet. He's a little bit expensive at 4,000. But they've talked about using him in that Sean Payton Joker role, which kind of intrigues me. So I might up that just a little bit. I like Olamide Zaccheaus quite a bit, but I think this is about fair ownership. Fair ownership for Thielen. I think I might want to get to a little bit less of DeAndre Swift. All right, so I'm going to go back now and see how I can change things in a way that I want to. And I like Aaron Jones. I don't know that I want 59%. So now I'm just going to go back to run the Sims. And as I said, I didn't do anything to the inputs for that first run, but now I'm going to go knowing what the exposures look like without doing it, see what I might need to do to get closer to exposures that I like. So on the Viking side, one thing that I know is I want more Jordan Mason. And maybe a little bit less Aaron Jones. So there's an easy way to do that. And I'm going to click this Smart Adjust button. What that does is it maintains proportions between market share and touchdown market share. So if I change Jordan Mason's rushing market share from 32% to 40%, it's also going to move his touchdown market share from 32.8% to 43% or so. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to change that exactly like that. Change it from 32% to 40%. Okay, change it to 41% touchdown market share. Bad math on my part. So now I am going to think about what else I want to change. I also don't think I need any Ty Chandler in my portfolio. So I'm actually going to change Ty Chandler to just be a 0. Actually, maybe move up Jordan Mason just a little bit more. Now, if I want more of, all right, I actually don't know. I think the sack rate is going to be for the Vikings here. And it'll be, this sack rate would be for the Bears defense. I'm not positive about that. So I'm going to try changing the Bears defense sack rate and see if I get more there. All right, but before I'm going to do one more run, at least one more after this one. So I'm going to do a run here, changing the Bears sack rate up pretty significantly, and then I will change again after I figure that out. Okay, so I'm getting to a fair amount. I think I want a little bit more Jalen Naylor, so I'm going to bring his And I like all of I like Jefferson. I'm getting a fair amount now. I don't want to change that too much. I also like Adam Thielen quite a bit. I might just take away Ty Feltons and give that to Jalen Naylor. Dude, I got to a little bit of Miles Price in my portfolio. I think I'm okay with getting to some. All right. And now, so you can see these numbers are giving me an error message because I just changed a lot of players up without changing a ton of players down. So now what I need to do is click normalize. And now it brings everything back to 100%, changes kind of everybody's numbers proportionally to get me to 100% there. And then on the Bears side, I do like Monungai a little bit better. And I was getting to a ton of Caleb Williams. So I actually think I can just bring up the rush rate overall. Going to bring that up to 43%. I'm also going to click Smart Adjust here. I want to bring up Kyle Monungai's rates a little bit just because I think he might be a little bit under-owned here. So I'm going to bring him up to 20% market share. DJ Moore, they've talked about using out of the backfield a little bit more this year. I'm actually going to move him up as well to 6%, assuming he gets a few carries here. And then Cole Kmet, they've also talked about, again, using him in kind of that joker role. I'm going to move him up to 4%. And then I can think about, are there any players that I want to move down? I think DeAndre Swift, I'm going to move down a little bit. Actually going to move Caleb down a little bit also. And then of the wide receivers, I'm getting to a lot of Zacchaeus, but I like it. I might want a little bit more Kmet, but I already moved up his rush rate, so I think that might be enough to get to a little bit more. Oh, and then here's where I can I just change the projection on the Bears defense. Let me see if I just change projected points on the Bears defense instead of touching sack rate. Maybe that's the way I want to do it. So I'm going to move them up to 8 projected points, and then we'll see what I had before. 6%. We'll see if that does enough to get me more of the Bears defense. And now I'm just going to, so I've got everything. Oh, I need to click normalize again. Okay, we're good there. So now I'm going to click Sim Runner Pro button again to run the Sims. Again, it's going to take a couple of minutes, but I'm going to run it and then I'll be back after I click it in a couple of minutes to show you what my new exposures look like now. All right, I've run the Sims a second time after making some manual adjustments. You can see, I think the top lineup might be the same as it was before. The EV will be a little bit different because I've changed some of the numbers, but we're still seeing JJ McCarthy with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, Caleb Williams with DJ Moore, and Olamide Zacchaeus. That's just a lineup that the Sims really like. This one, now it's only getting 10 predicted dupes. I think this one was 25 before. So after making some changes, it's going to be a little bit different in each set of Sims that you run. You can't really predict things precisely, so it's going to look a little bit different every time you run the Sims. You can see the number 5 lineup here is pretty interesting to me because you have Jordan Mason in the captain spot with Aaron Jones. So both the Vikings running backs. Then you have Bears onslaught in the flex, also with Caleb Williams, with Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, and DJ Moore. This one leaves $500 on the table, pulls the trigger of both Vikings running backs. A lot of people don't want to play 2 running backs from the same team, particularly with one in the flex. But you can see here, it is the reason that it's grading out well for me in this sim is just like 0 predicted dupes. And I think that's a combination of leaving some salary on the table, a little bit of unique build with Jordan Mason in the captain spot and Aaron Jones in the flex. Now, the trouble with lineups like this, I'll play it. I love it. But if this one were to be duped even like twice, that can change the EV pretty drastically. It might go from a plus EV lineup to a negative EV lineup. Might be plus EV because, it only wins once in 10,000 Sims. But when it does, if it's not duped at all, you win all the money. But then as soon as you start having it duped 2-3 times, then it becomes less valuable. So that's always the risk with playing that type of lineup. But that's kind of what I love about using the portfolio optimizer is I'm getting a wide range of lineups. So some of them are going to be risky like that, where it's like not super high odds of winning, but when it wins, it's going to win a lot of money. Others are going to be wins all the time. It's going to be split 50 ways when it does win. But it's kind of cool to have the portfolio optimizer doing that work for me in a really sophisticated way. So I enjoy that. But anyway, you saw the changes that I made. I want to see if I'm now getting more than 6% of the Bears defense, more of some of the players I like. So I'm going to go pull these lineups out of here, put them into DraftKings, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Well, I guess it's a minute for me, but just a few seconds for you. But I am back now. I've got the entries into DraftKings to see how my exposures are changed. You can see I'm still getting to a ton of Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy at the top here, getting to a little bit less Aaron Jones. I was at 59% before, I believe. Now I'm at 52%. Still getting to a lot of Adam Thielen, a little bit less DeAndre Swift, but still plenty of DeAndre Swift, plenty of Justin Jefferson, a lot of the same players. Jordan Mason, as we saw, I moved up some of his rates, and now I'm getting to 25%. Love that. I think Jordan Mason, a strong play at low ownership tonight. Still getting to a fair amount of Olamide Zaccheaus. I moved up Jalen Naylor's rates a little bit. Now I'm getting to a little bit more of Jalen Naylor. Up to 10% Kyle Monangai and up to 10% Bears defense. I was getting 6% before. So the changes I made did work to get me closer to the exposures that I want them to be. I could keep doing this. And this is generally has always been the way I work is I do it, I see what it looks like, and then I make some minor adjustments, tweak things just a little bit to get closer to exposures that I like. I don't think that I really need to do another set right now, and kind of see how I do things. So you can change. Again, you within Run the Sims, you go to the inputs, you can change things at the team level. You can change, if you think the Vikings are going to just dominate this game, you can change their points scored from 22.5 to 25. If you just want to get a bunch of Vikings onslaughts, you can change the pace. So this is essentially just the number of plays you expect them to run on offense. If you want to get more of the running backs, you can change the rush rate upwards. There are a lot of different triggers you can pull within the Run the Sim settings to get closer to the lineups that you want here. I think it's pretty cool. I think I'm pretty happy with my latest run. Of course, I would like to run it a few more times before submitting my lineups. Make sure I get to numbers that I'm really comfortable with, exposures that I'm really comfortable with across the board. But I love that I can use the portfolio optimizer and know that those exposures are going to be within lineups that are going to be plus EV. That's what I love about Sims as opposed to an optimizer where you can't really be sure that all of the lineups you're submitting are going to grade out as plus EV in Sims. So I like using it. If you want to check out this product again, promo code Neil can get you 10% off your first payment on any product at Run the Sims. They also have an optimizer where you can access the projections, which of course Utica works on, one of the best DFS players in the game. All their products pretty strong, but I'm using the Sim Runner Pro here if you want all the bells and whistles like I'm using here. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll be going live tonight about 85 minutes prior to lock if you want to join me for that as well. All right. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.